What is going on, my plant people? I am the ADHD gardener where I use gardening, houseplants, and humor as a form of mental health therapy, and it's all about beans. Now, I put out a video a few months ago regarding what kind of seeds could you find in your very own kitchen and what could you grow with. And one of the options that I had was beans from a bag. You can find dried beans in any supermarket, it doesn't really matter. But those beans, not only could you cook with them, you can grow with them. And that's exactly what I did here. Now, there's two different options when it comes to harvesting beans. Now, you can either harvest them when they're in their green state or fresh, where you can use them right then and there, or you can wait until the bean dries in its pod on the plants. I have a whole range of different stages of the beans. Now, I'm going to show you what the stages are, when can you pick them, and technically you can pick them at any time. You can pick them in their green state, which you would eat that very same day or within the next few days. Or you can pick them in their dry state, which is great for storage, just like regular seeds, where you can either cook with them or you can plant them again. Now, the green stage of the leaves, as you can tell, this is looking quite well. There's no yellow on it at all. But that is because the beans are actually still growing. As you see here, these beans are not fully formed at all. They're still in their growing stage, fully green with no problem. Now, these are not ready to harvest. The lighter green is indicating that the plant is drying up. The plant is just using up all its nitrogen and it is starting to harden up. It's starting to dry out the seeds. As you can see here, mind you, this is a complete, mind you, this is the lighter green one, right? Look at that, darker, lighter. Now, as you see the beans here, whoa, dried up. Now, this is awesome because you can store them. They've already been fully dried in their pods. Now, all you would do is just take off the pod from the plants. See, this one's still kind of green, so you can see the different stages over here too. You can see that this one is quite green and very meaty or fleshy with the pod. You can see the different colors. However, they are not ready to pick because they're not as dried up as these. You hear the crunch? Yeah, these are done. You can totally pick them in the green state because you can use them for beans like that very same day. However, these beans, as you see, they're not really bulbing out yet. That means it's not really done. What you doing, Chip? My Chips follows me everywhere. Chippies. Okay, normally the yellow is an indicator that it needs nitrogen, which that technically is true. But when it comes to beans, or when it comes to harvesting for seeds, that you want the plant to just kind of die out and dry out as is. So eventually it goes yellow, then it dries up, and then it dies. Okay, now some of these are really dry. They're super dry inside of this. There are some that are not dry. Okay, as you can hear, you hear nothing. This one, hear that? The beans are dried up inside. Now, these may not be fully dried for seed. However, you can pick them now for the beans. Do you see how the beans, the ridges are looking really, noticeable? That means the bean is growing pretty darn well. And I think this is a black bean. This one has completely died. Look at this. It has just dried up and everything. Now, this is what I'm going to use for seed, being that it is completely died and it's super dry. Again, this is another tedious and laborious job. I remember doing this with my grandma when I was a kid, and boy, was it boring. We shelled beans over and over and over again. It's just something that we do. This comes naturally. Now, if you are ADHD or you have problems with patience, may I suggest, when you're going to do something tedious and laborious like this, which is so boring to us, is maybe you want to put some music in the background. I always keep music with me everywhere I go. You can also get high if you like to smoke. You can also take a few dab rips or get your vape out, man, because, or take an edible. I like to do that too. I like to be calm when I'm doing this. All right, another one. So you have the bean. You have the bean right there. And now you have this like little extra stringy thing at the end. That is what you're gonna pull. And it's gonna pull off this little string. You don't need that, but that is what will help you open up the bean pod. Now from there, all you do is crack them open. Right where that string that you pulled off, that's where you like crack them with your fingernails, just kind of crack them open. I think there's a spider. I opened up and de-shelled the ones that were super dry, right? At least the pods were. Well, the beans were not completely dry. They were about like 75% dry, not 100%. So that means that you have to finish off hardening these beans or drying them out. So you can leave them out in the sun or partial sun for most of the time. Do not let them get wet. Now, I would not do this on a high humidity day either. If you're trying to dry these, try to avoid a humid day because that would definitely suck. The beans are not going to dry fast if it's a humid day. It has to be like a really hot sunny day or a partial sunny space. That's cool. Just don't make it a humid day because that is not going to go well for your drying your beans. Look, this camera is not focusing, but look, this one is not ready. This one is fresh. Well, of course I'm going to eat this. And then you have another one that's a little more firm. All right, but still has enough moisture. Well, still has moisture in it. The beginning one, when they look like this and they're kind of flat, the bean hasn't really developed in there. There's not a lot of bumps on the outside. This is what they look like when they're in their pod. The black is just starting but not ready yet at all. So this is not, this is not ready. We got the next stage. Still green, but they start getting their color. This is too early because of the color and they're not really bulbousy or protruding enough from the pod. Versus this one, I mean, there's still kind of, you'll tell when you pick up the pods or you can feel the beans on the outside. Now, next stage is starting to lighten up that green. There's still black in there, but the pod is starting to, the pod is starting to lose its color. Then it's drying up a lot more. It's still soft, but it's crisping up on the edges. And then the next one will be when it's completely dry, and that's when I took them out. Leave them somewhere where they're untouched and in a dry state. They will eventually dry on their own. Now, how do you store them after you get those beans out of these pods and they're already dried? You can leave them in a container, you can leave them in a Ziploc bag, anywhere where it's cool, dry, and dark. Your cabinets, cool, dry, and dark, where you keep all your other dried beans, that's perfectly fine. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I love doing this. This really brings me back to my childhood. If you like this video and you want to show me some love, then don't forget to smash that like button. I really appreciate it. It lets YouTube know that you like my videos. Also, if you want to see more videos like this on gardening, houseplants, and humor as a form of mental health therapy, then consider subscribing. I drop a video every week and then some in between. You can check me out on Facebook and Instagram, but I'm on Facebook the most. Until the next episode, peace and love, and really get growing them beans.